We're taking your brother to Europe. Celebrate on your own, Dad said. At graduation, the dean announced, our youngest tech billionaire. My parents froze as my $15 billion empire was revealed. Update 1. My name is Nathan, and I'm 22 years old. I graduated from MIT with a computer science degree last spring, an achievement I'd dreamed about since childhood. I expected my family to celebrate this milestone with me, but 3 days before the ceremony, my dad called. We're taking your brother to Europe, celebrate on your own, he said casually, as if canceling on my graduation was as insignificant as missing a coffee date. Little did they know I had a secret, one that would shock them to their core when the dean made an unexpected announcement. Before I dive into how everything unfolded, let me know where you're watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever been underestimated by the people who should have believed in you the most. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in suburban Boston, in a blue colonial house that looked picture-perfect from the outside. The kind of place where neighbors assumed everything was fine because we mowed our lawn on schedule and put out holiday decorations at the appropriate times. But inside those walls, the family dynamic was anything but perfect. My father, Michael, was the classic workaholic dad, an insurance executive who measured success in promotions and paychecks. He worked 60-hour weeks and spent his remaining energy on my older brother Ryan. My mother, Diane, was what you might call passive. She went along with whatever my father decided, offering sympathetic smiles when I was disappointed, but never actually standing up for me. Then there was Ryan, 25, 3 years older, and the undisputed golden child of our family. He was 6 feet tall by 10th grade, naturally athletic and charming in that effortless way that made teachers and coaches gravitate toward him. He played quarterback on the football team and pitched for baseball. His trophies dominated our living room shelves. His game schedules determined our family calendar, and his needs always came first. I was different. I was the kid who stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning dismantling computers and putting them back together. The one who found peace in the logic of code when the chaos of family dynamics became too much. I wasn't unathletic. I was actually a decent soccer player, but my real talent was with technology, something my parents considered a nice hobby at best. When I was 12, I created a program that automatically organized digital music libraries. This was back when everyone was struggling with massive iTunes collections. My computer science teacher entered it into a state competition without telling me, and I won first place. The ceremony was on a Saturday morning. I told my parents 3 weeks in advance, reminded them a week before, and mentioned it again at breakfast that day. We'll try to make it, Mom had said, not making eye contact as she packed snacks for Ryan's football game. I stood on that stage alone, accepting my award while scanning the audience for faces that weren't there. Later that night, Ryan scored the winning touchdown, and our house erupted in celebration. My certificate sat unnoticed on the kitchen counter until I finally tucked it away in my desk drawer. This wasn't an isolated incident, but a pattern that defined my childhood: science fairs, coding competitions, academic awards. I learned to stop expecting my parents to show up. I started telling them about events after they happened just to avoid the sting of disappointment. My 16th birthday was particularly revealing. My parents gave me a used laptop, functional, but nothing special. 2 months later, when Ryan turned 19, they surprised him with a brand new car. Not just any car, but a shiny red Mustang, with custom rims. He needs reliable transportation for college, Dad explained when he caught me staring at it from the window, as if I wouldn't also need transportation in 2 years. As if the message wasn't perfectly clear, Ryan was worth investing in. I was an afterthought. The one person who saw me, really saw me, was my grandfather, Harold, my mom's father. He was a retired electrical engineer, who understood my fascination with technology. Every Sunday, I'd bike to his house across town, and we'd spend hours working on projects together. He taught me about circuits and systems, but more importantly, he listened when I talked about my ideas. You've got something special in that brain of yours, he'd tell me, tapping my forehead gently. The world just hasn't caught up to you yet. When I was 17, Grandpa Harold passed away suddenly from a heart attack. At the funeral, I stood between my parents, feeling more alone than ever. The only person who believed in me was gone. A month later, I was called to a lawyer's office. Grandpa had left me $50,000 in his will, for Nathan's future innovations, the will specified. My parents were surprised, maybe even a little annoyed that he'd left me money directly instead of to them to manage for me. We should put that away for college, Dad immediately suggested. Actually, I said, finding courage I didn't know I had. Grandpa wanted me to use this for innovations. I'm going to honor that. It was perhaps the first time I'd directly countered my father. He frowned, but didn't argue. Maybe he thought I'd blow it on gaming equipment or something equally wasteful in his eyes. Instead, I used that money to start my company. I registered an LLC, bought server space, and began developing the security software I'd been conceptualizing for years. I worked every night after homework, every weekend, every school break. My parents barely noticed my absence. They were too busy with Ryan's college games and social life. When I got accepted to MIT on a partial scholarship, their reaction was predictably underwhelming. That's nice, Mom said. Will you have enough time for a social life with such a demanding school? Dad's concern was financial. We're already helping Ryan with his master's program. You'll need to cover the gap in your scholarship. I just nodded, not telling them about the growing success of my company, which was already generating enough revenue to cover my expenses. I didn't tell them about the angel investors who'd discovered my work and provided additional funding in exchange for small equity stakes. I didn't mention that by my sophomore year of college, my company had 8 employees working remotely, or that by junior year that number had grown to 20. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.